Hi, my name is Dylan Brockway, and welcome to the very first episode of Frameworks on Herndon Community Television. This program is a way to showcase the many truly talented artists we have in our area and give them an outlet for their art. We're really excited that for our first episode, we have two extraordinary young artists who are willing to sit down with us and talk about their love of the work that they do. Today's guest is James Adelsberger. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, you did.
All right.
Good job.
James is a drummer, and he's our very first guest. Tell us about when you started playing the drums.
I started in 5th grade. It certainly wasn't to please my parents. I mean, no one
The
was a drummer
loudest
in the
drum,
house.
the loudest instrument, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I started with piano in 2nd grade, and I had a better sense of rhythm than any other aspect of the instrument. And the piano teacher told my parents, you know, this guy needs to be a drummer. So we got me a drum set, and I started in the elementary school band, and I just kept playing, and I'm still playing.
Did you continue on into high school? Did you take percussion or marching band? Or?
I went to Lake Braddock Secondary School where everyone in band had to do marching band. So I was in that, and I played in the concert bands. I joined jazz band later on, which turned out to be my favorite because I could play drum set in there.
Is that where you found your first band to play in? Non-marching band?
Yes. Yeah, the right condition. That started in jazz band.
And you have newer projects like Forgetting August is your newest group?
Yes, that is, I consider that my flagship group right now.
All right, what type of music is that?
Forgetting August. We play kind of alternative rock, female-fronted, powerful but melodic. Some of our songs, I think you might even, something similar to what you'd hear on the radio. We take influence from bands like We Are the In Crowd, All Time Low, Mayday Parade. We play 2 or 3 Mayday Parade covers every live set, and we joke about it.
When was the last time you all played together?
We all played together. Our last show right now was at Empire Nightclub. The night before classes at JMU started, actually, like classes started on Monday the 13th. We played a show Sunday night the 12th, and
Wow.
you know, played the show and then just got out of there, went to school.
You have any upcoming shows that you have planned?
No upcoming shows. I think the soonest one for Forgetting August will be, it's called Rumble Down Under at JMU. It'll be our Battle of the Bands, sponsored by the program board.
Speaking of acoustic shows, you have some other projects you're working with. A country record label? Is that it?
Yes, I've been working with Roughshod Records for about 2 years now.
And is that a folk or acoustic or bluegrass? How would you describe it?
All of the above,
All right.
whatever we
acoustic
want to do.
is how you describe it pretty much, right?
The label now is just 2 guys. It's me and a guy named Mike Johnson who started the label in the 1980s, and
Oh, wow.
because of that, there's a lot of creative freedom that goes into it.
Are you majoring in studio engineering?
No, I'm majoring in business management at JMU and minoring in music industry. JMU doesn't have a recorded music program. There's some schools that do. There's not really a recording industry program in the state of Virginia, so the academic common market equivalent is at Middle Tennessee State University, and they offer people in-state tuition.
You also do some work in scoring of films, right?
Yeah, that's been a passion of mine for about 2 years since I did AP Music Theory in my high school junior year, and that's when I started writing music. And you know, there's not very much of a market. There's a very scarce market nowadays for, you know, strictly composed music, but for music composed for media, for example, video games, TV, and movies, there's a huge market for that.
You said Forgetting August has its own website.
Yeah, we do. ForgettingAugust.com.
How else do you network yourself as an artist?
I mean, it's always a balance. You can't just like blindly like spew out content to people. They'll throw it in the trash. You talk to people at gigs and you make an impression, and you know, if they like you, they'll buy your merchandise. And bands nowadays really, like, if you put your music on iTunes, you won't make that much of a profit. People won't want to buy it. They'll pirate it. So bands nowadays will make a profit giving music away for free and then making money from tour. But obviously, like I said, it takes experience to do that.
Takes quite a few steps before you get to the tour, of course.
Mm-hmm.
What are you guys doing to get there?
I'm thankful to have a lot of great mentors in the music industry. I have a friend who's a promoter and books bands, and the biggest piece of advice he just told me yesterday was actually show swapping. You know, as much sense as it seems to make to play, you know, local shows all the time. You know, if you're charging money for that, you're going to wear out the scene and the fan base. You need to show swap and play some shows out of town. And
explain show swapping.
Oh, show swapping. It's you find a band, through networking or that you've played a show with, and then they will come, like maybe you're playing a local show, not necessarily headlining. They'll come and open for you or play before you, and then maybe in 2 weeks or a month you will go to their town and play a show. So you don't play too many shows in your hometown. People don't have enough money to come see you that much.
Mm-hmm. Personal stories. Was there
this is the hard part.
Climactic tragedy in your life that occurred that made you want to start pounding on things for a living?
No,
Okay, let's get inside your head when you're on stage. What are you feeling? When you're playing a rock and roll show? I'm sure most people don't know what that feels like.
It's a huge rush. I mean, it's always a rush. It was definitely a bigger rush when I first started. So much so that I would rush each song just a couple clicks. But I don't do that anymore.
Tell us about the non-playing side of the tour. What happens during that whole thing?
I mean, music, it's not quite as exciting as you think. Music is 80% hanging around and 20% playing, and that's exactly what it is. Forward Smash, we got to the show swapping stage, and we're on the weekend warrior phase. We'll do weekend, 4-day tours. And, the band is responsible for the gas money, for getting to the venue. We have our merch. Someone needs to watch the merchandise table.
When you guys perform, you have a gig coming up. Do you try to sell tickets ahead of time? Is that your responsibility or the venues?
It depends at what level the band is at. Most of the gigs I've played have been, bands need to sell pre-sale tickets. That was more in high school. They call that pay to play, where you sign a contract, you owe the club a certain amount of money, and you get that back by selling tickets.
And if you don't, then what happens?
If you don't, then you just owe the club by contract.
Out of your own pocket.
Right. The club will say sell 20 tickets. If you sell 19, you owe them like $10.
You owe them 1 ticket's worth of money.
Yeah, but then you make 100%, or maybe not necessarily, of what they sell afterwards. But the way it works once you get to the next tier is you get paid a cut of the door. It's like a
percentage of the money they made.
Right. Like if there's 3 bands playing, each band might get like 20% of the door cut. So then it's just your incentive to bring people so you get paid. You don't have to, but you will if you want to make money.
It's an even
and
greater
of course you
incentive
do.
to bring people.
So you eat on tour.
Yeah, that's important.
Right now I'm mixing tracks for Roughshod Records, which is a record label that I'm a studio engineer for, and all the tracks have been recorded for this song right here. They're largely acoustic instruments, so I use GarageBand rather than Pro Tools for the sake of time. The song is my composition for Roughshod Records. Everything sounds pretty balanced to me in this medium right now.
And here we are now with Amanda Pham. Hi, thank you for being with us today. So you're a photographer. Mm-hmm. What type of photography do you do?
I do a lot of fashion photography, and I also do a lot of commercial photography too, so like portraits and weddings and stuff like that.
All right. How did you get into photography?
I think I started off at a really young age. I really loved fashion. I was actually really into like fashion design. And then I always like looked at, magazines like Vogue and stuff like that. And I really got into like the pictures and the editorials that they featured in there. So I branched off from the actual like making of clothes to the photography part of it.
So the fashion got you into the photography.
Exactly, yeah.
Remember when you picked up your first camera?
I mean, I've always taken pictures when I was really young, but I didn't really I didn't really get into it seriously until I think when I was in 8th grade or 9th grade. I started taking pictures of like friends and posting them on Facebook and this online photo community called Flickr. So I posted a lot of pictures on there and kind of built a portfolio that way.
And it started as a hobby, and now you have kind of your own business, right?
Yeah.
And in that business, you shoot weddings, wedding photos, engagement photos.
Yeah.
What else?
Like model headshots, family pictures, birthday parties, just a lot of different things.
How often do you get these gigs?
So there's an off season and a busy season. Wedding season is usually from April to like October. I don't really get much in the winter unless it's like a party or a birthday. So I'm really busy usually in the spring and summer because it's warmer out and I can do shoots on location.
At this level, at this age, you're still in high school, correct? Like Braddock?
Yeah.
At this level, are most of the people you shoot people you know, or are people contacting you that you've never met before?
It's a little mix of both. I think the biggest way that my name or my work gets spread is by word of mouth. So people who I've shot before, they'll talk and like refer me to their friends or their neighbors, and so it's all within the community, I guess. But I sometimes get like emails from people I've never heard of or never met
doing
before.
Something right. Right?
Yeah.
Now, I've never been a photographer in any capacity. I have no idea how it works. Is the process the same with all these different types of photo shoots, or is every single one different?
I guess my fashion shoots are a little bit different than my wedding shoots. Well, fashion, I can kind of plan a lot more, and it's pretty much my own vision. I'll definitely collaborate with a stylist, makeup artist, model, and everything, but there's a lot more planning, I think there's a lot more detail put into that. Not saying that weddings don't have detail, but it's just like I'm not as involved because for weddings,
Kind of out of your control.
Yeah, exactly, which is why I really like it, because I can be on my toes and like I like to adapt to different scenarios. So they're really different in that sense.
Walk us through setting up for a photo shoot.
Okay, so the setting up for the photo shoot actually takes a lot more time before the actual photo shoot. I'd probably say maybe a month before, or even more. I'll pull like inspiration pictures from a magazine that I really like for a concept or idea. And so on the day of, model comes, we do hair and makeup.
And you have someone that does the hair and the makeup
Yeah.
and the wardrobe, but you set up the lights?
Yeah,
and
I set up
yourself?
lights and everything in the
Do
studio.
you use the same camera every shoot for every type of shoot, or
Yeah.
is it always different?
No, I use the same camera. I'm really getting into film, like I want to shoot film more, so I'm going to be experimenting with a film camera soon. So
Wow.
yeah.
Actual film? Like
Black
not
and white.
digital? Oh,
Yeah.
wow, okay.
Yeah.
And then would you build your own darkroom for,
I'll just use the school's darkroom.
what's the process there? What happens there?
So I'm not actually completely sure because I haven't done a lot of film.
Me neither.
So you develop your film, you take it through and you put it like in a larger, and then you like expose it for a certain amount of seconds, and then like you develop your pictures that way.
And that's not so common anymore with all the digital
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Today's shoot is going to be a kind of lifestyle beauty shoot. We're going for a really kind of free people kind of look. So I have some loose catalogs over here with pictures that the model can look at for inspiration. And so one of the image treatments that I'm trying to do today is a hazy look. And I'm going to try to do that by putting this saran wrap on top of my lens. And it's just going to give this really cool hazy look in camera. And also I'm going to be using a prism as well, and that just gives a lot of cool like light flares, which is also really neat. So for models, I can get models from a modeling agency in Richmond. I usually go through a booker, so she sends me a package of like new girls that are still developing their portfolio. So I'll pick a few out from there, and then they can see who's available, and I can just pick. So I chose this model today because she has really nice, clean features of her face, and she has like really blonde hair, so that will work really well with the lighting that I'm trying to do today and the soft look that we're going today.
When you are shooting a couple that hires you to take pictures of them for their engagement photos or for their wedding photos before the wedding, or a senior portrait, do they stay in control? They tell you what model or what poses they want to do, or is it you kind of directing them and they kind of listen to what you do because they know that you're the expert?
It's kind of a little bit of both. I will pretty much tell them, you know, do whatever they feel comfortable with. And if we run out of ideas, I'll just give a little bit of direction. But I think that for me, what comes out best in photos is when people are really comfortable and, you know, they're in their zone. So I don't try to make them do anything that feels unnatural to them.
How do you get them to feel comfortable in their element if they're uncomfortable before taking a...
I pretty much tell them to kind of relax. And if they're looking stiff, you know, I pretty much give...
Am I looking stiff?
No.
Good. Good.
So for senior portraits, if they look really stiff, I'll tell them, you know, just shake it out. And doing a lot of like silly pictures at first can also break them out of their little shell. But also showing them the pictures from behind the camera, and like if they feel like they look good, they're going to act that way, and they're just...
They feel more confident.
Exactly. They're going to feel more confident, and you know, after I take a picture, you know, I say, oh, that looks really great, you know, hold that. That looks really, really good.
Positive reinforcement.
Exactly.
I was looking at your portfolio. Is that what? I was looking at your portfolio, your website or your Facebook page.
Yeah.
And it's such a wide spectrum of types of shots. And they're all beautiful. Some were in black and white, and I always wonder when I see pictures in black and white, what makes you edit them into black and white? Is it the photo, or is it? I don't understand. What is it for you?
Okay. For me, black and white is kind of... I think I use it for more like simpler shots. I think black and white is really striking when there's a lot of contrast. So like in different lighting situations, if there's a lot of contrast in lighting, I'll turn it in black and white. It's also really good when there's a lot of distracting colors in a shot. I'll turn that black and white.
Do you do your own post-production, I'm sure?
Yeah, after the shoot, there's a lot of work that goes into post. A lot of people don't really see that part. And so
that's the hardest part, isn't it?
Exactly. Well, if I'm doing like a beauty story, a lot of editing goes into like color and like skin, a lot of like touch-ups in hair, you know, if you have like a loose hair.
I see a lot of pictures. It looks like they've been airbrushed and they just look animated almost.
Yeah.
And this doesn't seem like photography to me anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for me, I want to make my pictures look as natural as possible. So after my shoot, I load all my files into Adobe Bridge, and then I'll go through and select, I'll mark the ones that I like the best, and I'll probably end up with around 60. So here I have the image, and I like that the background's really blown out, but I kind of want to bring back light into the shadow areas. After I put in some fill light, I think it looks pretty good and ready to go into Photoshop. So I'm just going to copy some areas of her skin and just clone them on to get rid of some of the blemishes. And so now after the skin, I'm going to just fix some lighting. So I usually go into curves, and I do different like dragging points to adjust certain parts of the image. So I'm going to bring the midtones up a little bit by putting this up, and I'm going to bring some of the highlights down to get like a creamier look. So I'm going to bring this down. Okay. So now you can see that the background light is a little bit more hazy since I brought that down a little bit. And there's more light in her face overall. So here's this without the lighting layer, and this is with the curved layer. And I have some images from the film that I shot from the shoot, and I actually like the black and white film images a lot better than the ones I did with the digital for these images, just because I think it looks more raw in terms of what we were going for, just really natural beauty. And for film, I thought it was really cool that I could kind of do the same thing in Photoshop, but do that in a like more traditional way. So I can make the images brighter or darker by however time, like the amount of time that I expose the paper when developing and stuff. So two very different methods, but I think that the combination of them work really well for the shoot.
How do you educate yourself to become a better photographer? Like, how do you take, or how do you sit back and think, how can I take better pictures?
For me, I think I'm a really hands-on learner, so I just shoot a lot, and I think by shooting a lot, you can learn a lot through, if you shoot something and you don't like it, then you know why, like, I'll analyze it and say, like, why don't I like it?
You practice by doing.
Yeah, and also I read a lot online, watch a lot of YouTube videos, and really watching behind-the-scenes videos of a lot of professional photographers, what their lighting setup is, or like what kind of techniques they use in camera, so stuff like that.
I know, I'm sure you have a long list of photographers I've never heard of that are amongst your favorites,
Yeah.
but if you had to name one, who would it be?
This is really hard. For fashion.
I'm sure it is, because there's so many different types of photography,
Yeah.
and then you have so many favorites, I'm sure.
Yeah. I really like Tim Walker's fashion photography.
He focuses on fashion.
Yeah, his stuff is really, really out of the box, and very ethereal when you look at it. It's almost like a fantasy. So that's pretty much what I try to do in my pictures, but his pictures are really, really great.
And you see a photographer that you're inspired by, you try to be, I don't want to say be like, because of course every photographer, every artist tries to be their own artist, I'd hope.
Yeah.
But has he inspired you in his shots?
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. The way that he thinks and takes things out of the ordinary and puts them together, I think, is really, really awesome.
You seem so passionate about photography.
Yeah.
What makes you passionate, though? What makes you passionate about taking these photos?
I think that I really like being able to document, like for weddings, I really like being able to document someone's day and just make them really, really pretty and have it there for them to look on after their day. Also for fashion, I think for me, I really like, kind of creating your own world, I guess, and putting that all together, which is really, really awesome. I think it's really cool to see, something from nothing and then everything come together after a photo shoot. I think that's really fun.
I'm sure you're not working with a huge budget.
No.
We're not here. And a lot of people at this age, they're working with what they have and what they can get their hands on. They use friends' resources, and they reach out to people and say, can I use this? Can I have this? When you work with such a low budget, it truly is just about the art. It's no $1 million set or anything like that. So how do you find your set when you're shooting?
I actually did a shoot with a friend, and we used her horses.
Oh wow!
So
I saw those pictures.
That was really fun.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and then I also did a shot with twins, and we used their pool. So we did like a water shoot. So trying to seek different places that would work, and also like asking friends. I think that's really, really helpful.
We see pictures all over the place, with social networking and in magazines, and of course you're always looking at photography. Is there something that bothers you when you see pictures being taken?
I don't know, I think when pictures aren't completely in focus, that's like my biggest pet peeve.
Unless it's like an experiment.
Unless it's like supposed to be like that.
Yeah.
But if it's like the slightest bit, I think that.
Like, oh, it's out of focus.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Artsy. You just got accepted to a college, right? Or
yeah, a few.
something like that. I forget, which colleges was it?
I got into School of Visual Arts in New York, and
Wow.
VCU, their art program in Richmond, and School of the Art Institute of Chicago.
And do you have one that you're leaning towards?
Well, my top choice I haven't heard back from yet.
What school is
but,
that?
But it's Pratt Institute in Brooklyn.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
I just moved back from Brooklyn.
Yeah, I love
And,
that school.
I heard that you had a picture picked or a photo selected from Hallmark.
Yeah.
What was that?
So I like got an email. Well, I was still using Flickr at that time, so I posted a picture of, from a photo shoot with my friends, and I got an email from the art director of Hallmark, and she's like, "Oh, we really like this picture. We would love to have it on a Hallmark signature card."
Could you not believe it at first?
Yeah, I was like,
wait
what?
a second, this is a scam. Do you want my social security number?
Yeah, actually it was through Getty Images.
Oh, okay, I've heard of that.
Yeah, so that's on a Hallmark birthday card.
And it was through Getty Images?
Yeah.
I think they provide the photos for the Washington Post. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So was that is that the biggest achievement you'd say that you've? 'Cause
Yeah,
that's a pretty big deal.
definitely.
Hallmark's
That's
a huge
my
company.
that's my biggest so far.
And they just found it on Flickr.
Yeah.
They were just searching through your portfolio then.
Well,
right?
I think somebody posted it on their blog, and it got linked back to my Flickr. So yeah.
And that's the amazing thing about the internet now is that's another way you can get your
Exactly.
pictures out there. Before
Yeah.
the internet, it was like, you know, that would have never happened.
Yeah.
So that's great. Thank you so much for joining us. It was
Yeah.
great talking to you.
Thanks
and
for
I
having
really
me.
just wanted to get in the mind of a photographer because the only picture I've ever taken was with an iPhone. So thank you so much for talking with us
Yeah.
today.
Thanks for having me.